Hi everyone, I just wanted to make another follow-up video regarding the pounce, its recovery time, but also where I think it's standing right now balance-wise since the tweaking or bug fix, whatever you want to call it, on the build, on the stress test from last Friday morning. So I had the chance to have quite a few decent fights as a Utah this weekend, and also being on the receiving end of it as a Packy, and I'm starting to have a kind of general idea of where this is heading, and I think what could be done to kind of like just maybe tune it down a little bit, because I think the Utahs will end up very dominant and overrepresented if the 5.0 ships out like this. So just to go over it quickly, in the 5.0 update, you're gonna have a bunch of direct buffs for Utahs, but also indirect buffs. So nerfs to other dinosaurs or changes that will beneficiate the Utahs. So the first one is the bite buff. So they did up the basic attack left click button damage to Utahs. There's a knockdown buff. So I think for every kind of knockdown currently, the recovery time, so if you get knocked down by a carno as a Tenno for example, normally it was 3 seconds to get back up, now it's 2. It's a big buff to recover from knockdowns. You're also gonna have the pounce recovery time, which is what I'm gonna talk a lot in this video, that was buffed, so it's definitely a lot faster to recover when you miss a pounce than it is on the public branch. You have the carno nerfs, their blood pool, which is also a big one. When carno starts getting pounce yet on this version, unlike the public branch, they don't just run and don't care and they're like, whatever, I'm a carno, I don't care. They react to it. It does make a difference. And the Packy nerfs overall, less damage for Packies, that is also an indirect buff to Utahs. So overall, if you take the sum of all these direct buffs and indirect buffs, and then you put it also with the fact that they actually fixed, for the most part, the pounce itself, I haven't had a single pounce bug out on me so far. It's been pretty smooth. It's very easy to lash on something, maybe a bit too easy, especially from the front, but I didn't have any issues. It's not a buff at all, it's a bug fix. But if you take the sum of all that and you include the fact that the pounce itself kind of works fine now, I think that puts the Utah in a very strong spot. And this is where my concerns with this current implementation begin, because the Utah, along I think with the Tenno, was always considered a little bit this easy to learn, hard to master type of dinosaur. If you had a good Utah in front of you that knew his stuff, you knew it instantly, given that it didn't get killed by the pounce essentially. You could really shine as a Utah by your gameplay. You just look at a guy like Scope, you look at Napin, there's these prominent Utah players that stayed alive until they bugged out essentially. And I feel right now, from what I've played and also the general feeling I had with the guys I was playing with, who are also pretty good players, that Utah is very easy to play on this version. Like, it's extremely permissive thanks to the very fast recovery time. Also the fact that you can very easily pounce stuff from the front like a carno and things like that. It is like a magnet. You just kind of aim more or less in the general direction. So one problem I have with the new recovery, it takes a lot away from the existing matchup that was dependent, not entirely, there's other ways you can approach your fights, but one big part, for example, if I take an example, the Packy and the Utah matchup, there was a big part of it which was kind of like a dueling, like you try to bait your opponent into using his right click ability, so your pounce or your headbutt, and you try to bait him into misusing it, and while he's recovering, you have this tiny windows of opportunity where you can either get a headbutt or a pounce. And now if you take this current version, this is still true for the Packy. So the Packy, if he misses a headbutt, you basically get a free pass at a pounce for the Utah, because you have this 1.5 seconds or something like that he's recovering. Which is not a long time, but it's enough to turn around, especially with the Utah, which turns very fast, and then get it out there. The problem, this is not true anymore in the other way. So if you're a Packy and you manage to dodge a pounce or bait it out, the time that you have to basically keep turning to face him and go for it is probably already gone. Especially that Utahs are very susceptible to ping, because they're really like, they're very fast and they do quick movements. So very often as a Packy, if you have a moving Utah, you're gonna headbutt him and it's actually not gonna register on the server, so you're gonna see him around gliding on your client as if you did headbutt him, but actually no, he's just gliding on the ground because he's not fractured or anything, because it didn't register on the server. But your client thinks so that's why it plays the sound and the animation of it. And currently this is way too fast. If you manage to bait it out and force a wrong pounce, it will be very difficult, except if it's directly in front of you. and you don't have to turn around and adjust yourself at all, and you just have to right click, you're gonna probably hit him in his recovery. Other than that, you can forget it. Obviously, there are other ways to fight Utahs, but especially for Packies and Tenos, baiting bad pounce was a huge element of fighting especially a large pack of Utah. So obviously you have other tactics, you can use terrain, you can use water, you can use a bit of vegetation, but a huge part of it was also buying time and dancing around, trying to bait out or dodge a pounce, and then go for the punishing move. And taking this away takes a huge part of the depth of the combat system in this game. I think this game doesn't get a lot of credit for the depthness of the combats. They can be very interesting and kind of very technical as well. And this, I think, really disproportionately affect Tenos and Packies especially. We can even look at a few examples of what I mean. How actually a 1 second or so recovery time really looks like in a real situation during a combat with some example. So this first footage here is not from me, it's from Dragon ZZ. He's there, he looks at the Utah on the rock. The other one comes around and boom! He misses, he's already out. You have time to flip around, you come and he's out. And then he just turns around again and then just latch on him and get a pounce out. So if we look at him again, he goes around, he look at the thing, and then you see him coming. And then poof, and instantly he saw what happened. The Cardinal saw what happened and he went for it to punish the opponent. But it's too late. He was already out and it flips around on him directly, turns around, get a pounce out. Now here what you're gonna see is the last seconds of a fight. He goes for pounce and completely misses it. And then I go to punish him, even though he's directly kind of in front of me. And I only need to turn a little bit on the right to basically hit him. He's out. Poof, good luck with that. And then it's too late. So you look at Yumi on this clip, and she goes for the pounce between two carnos, who are pretty bruised up with the bleed already. She goes around, she misses her pounce directly in between. And you see the one on the left, the one of the two didn't realize too much, and that's kind of on him. But you see the one on the left, sees it instantly, and he goes for it, does the out-click too late. But the speed that you just recover from these kind of situations, like in this case a pounce between two carnos next to the mud pit that fails, and then you end up in front of the Carno, and he sees it, and he starts accelerating for the few meters that he has to cover, but you're already out. It just goes too fast. Another thing that I think we're gonna see people doing way more now is taking Carnos head on. Because previously, if you went head on a Carno, well, you had always the risk that your pounce just bugs out, but you went to a pounce. If he will kind of just dodge it very quickly, then he could use that to his advantage and just give you a good bite or two. Now there's way less risk, a downside risk, to actually do a frontal pounce on a Carno, because if you miss it, he probably will not have the time much to turn around and actually bite you, or you might take a tail bite or something. But the tail bites were also nerfed. So I don't think it will take a lot of time for a lot of Utahs to realize that as long as they don't give enough distance in front of the Carno to actually build up the momentum to start a charge, and they just play in that kind of like gray area window that if he comes at you to just bite you, you can just go for a pounce straight on in his face. And if you're full HP and you get a good pounce out, you don't care about taking a bite. It's a good trade for you, because you will not be probably 1 Utah, you might be 4, 7, 8, 10, 12, who knows. So if you take a bite, even to the head, it hurts. You just lost a quarter of your HP maybe. But then you get a good pounce out and the game just shifts for the Carnos. Then they have to think, okay, I'm pounce, I cannot just aimlessly run and bite and do this and that. So I think a lot of people, you're gonna see that being used a lot. These kind of like frontal pounce on Carnos. As long as they don't have the distance to charge, it's pretty much a free pounce. So if you take all that and you sum it up together, I think, like I said at the beginning, Utah is going to be in a very strong dominant position, given that it's left like it is right now on this build. I think, which will result in seeing way less Packies, probably way less Tenos as well, because they also depend a lot for fights on at least against large Utah packs, on punishing bad pounce. It's a big element of a fight against Utahs, and I think what you're gonna see more and more and more, people probably saw it already on many videos, is carnos fighting near mud pits and camping mud pits, camping near water, cliffs, perching on rocks. I think if the Utah gets out on the 5.0 as strong as it is right now, with an as reliable pounce, which is a great thing, as it is right now, I think that's what you're gonna see. You're gonna see a lot of Utahs, a lot of Danos, because Danos have been also pretty much out of the game, and the drinking bugs have been pretty much all fixed, or at least the ones that I know that I tried were all resolved. This is probably what's awaiting, so I don't think it will take a lot to actually adjust that. I think it's a matter of tweaking some values left and right. Overall, I'm very happy with the 5.0, what we're seeing. The map is fixed for Danos, the mechanics for the nesting are nice, the skin system is nice. So I think overall, if they tweak a little bit more, that Utah's is probably not as strong as it is right now on this build, I think this patch will be very good. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Like and subscribe if you like this video. Maybe I'll do more of them, I have no idea. We'll see what happens. Alright, peace.